Hello, welcome back to another video. Delighted to be joined again on the channel for the third time now. Mr. Billy Nelson, I've got Liam with me as well. Billy, thanks for coming on, mate. How are you?
Everyone's fine, mate. Thank you.
Good to hear. You've been a very busy man in the month of August. You've been to LA, you've been on the Hollywood Boulevard, you've been to the DRC. You're happy to be home now, are you?
Yeah, back to where I like being best. Back in the gym.
Back to I wouldn't say back to reality because it's been all positive, hasn't it, lately? But back to the home comforts, is it?
Well, Darren, it's just getting the younger guys ready for their fights. I'm busy, and I've got a fight on Friday. I've got a couple of fights a few weeks after, and then Crocker's coming back. He'll be in a big fight in a few months' time.
Ooh.
I've got a new addition to the gym. He'll be in a big fight. Well, he'll be in a good fight in October, and then a massive fight later in the year. No, and then of course Martin. We hope we'll be fighting Zhang in December.
It has to, Billy. It has to happen. I'll come on to it in a little while, but yeah, got to start with Martin Bakole and what happened on August 3rd in LA. You called it for months. You know, I personally thought Martin had run through him as well. I thought what was interesting, Billy. I thought all the way through fight week, I thought Jared Anderson looked nervous. I thought, you know, the way he was dancing and that kind of thing. Martin looked just cold as ice all week. I think. But both you and Martin, just the way you carried yourselves all fight week, from what I could see, you just knew, like you just had that feeling. Was that the feeling kind of like through camp? You know, you just had that air of confidence around both of you all week.
Me and Martin are confident that they can beat any heavyweight on the planet. We knew Anderson's a good fighter, a very good fighter.
And he is.
Listen, that I mean, if he applies himself and falls in love with the sport, he's going to be a dangerous fighter because he is very good.
Most definitely, and like you say, most people will probably write him off now, saying he was never any good and all this. But he's the next best American heavyweight prospect. You know, everyone was. You know, you have to look at the fact the bookies had Jared Anderson a good favourite over Martin Bakole before the first bell in that fight, and then of course everybody just turns on him saying, you know, never any good and all that. You've seen it all before a million times, haven't you?
A multitude of times. It's people who don't know what they're talking about say that he's no good. Too many experts say he's very good, but of course, armchair experts will know better than the proper experts.
Yeah, so just talk to me about. I know when I spoke to you before, Billy, like a lot of the frustrations that you know, it was tough to get Martin to fight. You know, we all know that he's willing to fight absolutely anybody, but you know, just coming on the bright side now, his stock's never been bigger. You know, he stole the show on August 3rd in LA. He was the best performance of the night by a country mile. Everybody left that arena, and his name was on everybody's lips. It's a complete 180, really, from what was happening before. He just needed the opportunity. So yeah, talk to me about what the kind of difference feels like now.
There's no difference. There's no difference. We always had the utmost confidence in his ability. We just had to, as I've said for a long time, be given the opportunity. We were given the opportunity. He produced a career probably best performance, and now he's entitled to. I mean, I think he's number one in one of the rankings, three in another, maybe three in another, and five in the other. So I think you know. If beat Zhang, I'm sure we'll get a world title fight next, and that's really that's what we want. That's what we're in it for.
100%. Yeah, Liam.
Yeah, no, completely agree with everything you said, Sam. For me, had Bakole as a favourite going into the Anderson fight. I've been a big fan of him and your work, Billy, for a long time, and always thought he is possibly the one heavyweight that's always been avoided by the top 5, top 6 guys in the world over the last couple of years. So you say the plan is for Zhang in December. If for different reasons the Zhang fight wasn't to come off, is there someone else you got on the list that you'd like to see Martin in with to close the year out to follow this performance from the start of August?
Anybody that's got 2 arms and a pair of boxing gloves at the end of them, they'll fight anybody.
Yeah, I mean, like,
he would fight anybody. I mean, a few other names have been mentioned, but you want Zhang because I'd say there's a wee group of guys underneath there's AJ Daniel, they're fighting for the title. So and then you get and Fury and Usyk, and just underneath them you've got Joseph, Caballero, Zhang, and Martin. We'd fight any day for. Martin will beat. Sorry, three. Martin will beat the three of them. He'll stop each and every one of them.
Yeah,
and he will do that. Mark my words. He will stop each and every one of them. So I would like to think, or I certainly hope, that the winner of Martin v Zhang fights the winner Caballero and Joseph Parker for some form of world title.
Yeah, there's been a few
That would only
contrasting
be fair.
things.
That's only fair.
I
absolutely
agree.
Be fair.
I don't see how the Martin Bakole and Zhang fight shouldn't happen next. That is the fight to make, absolutely. But Billy, from what I was seeing, Frank Warren came out and kind of said like that. Obviously, the rematch clause is there for Zhang Parker, and they were looking in that direction. But then I saw Turkey Al Sheikh basically said that he wants to make the Martin and Zhang fight. So I don't know how much is in that rematch clause for Zhang and Parker. Not too sure about what's going on with that.
So then I'll ask the question. If Turkey Al Sheikh, His Excellency, wants the fight, you think he'll make the fight?
Oh, 100%.
100%. Absolutely, he'll make the fight if he wants
Of course
it.
he will.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean,
why would Frank stand in the way?
Yeah.
You don't bite off the hand that feeds you.
No, absolutely. And personally, for me, I've never been a big fan of seeing rematch clauses in fights unless there's an absolute robbery or a decision that people don't agree with. In this situation, there's no need to see Parker and Zhang go at it again. That was conclusive for me back in March.
The only time any rematch clauses should be allowed, certainly never in a unification fight, certainly never in mandatory fights, only in a voluntary fight. Say if I was good at, say I was a world champion, you were a challenger, and I was good enough to give you a voluntary defence. There's generally a rematch clause in that. I'm giving you the opportunity, so you give me the opportunity to win it back. But see if you've earned the right to be a mandatory, and you've earned the right to be mandatory challenger, you fight that man, that champion, and if you beat him, you're the champion. You shouldn't have to fight a rematch clause. It shouldn't be allowed. It should not be allowed.
I question why there was it because of Parker's ranking? Is that why there was a rematch clause in that first fight? Like what was the deal? Sorry, Zhang was WBO number 1. Was he beat Joyce? Wasn't Joyce WBO number 1 or something?
Joyce was WBO interim, wasn't he?
Joyce was interim. I think Joyce was interim champion. It's basically the reason they're doing it is just to keep a hold of the title and keep that number 1 spot, because you'll be tied up anyway. I mean, normally if you get a shot at the champion or the interim champ or whatever it is, the interim champion, whatever the case may be, you get to fight the champion, but you'll be tied up to the promoter that's running the show.
Yeah, that seems to happen an awful lot. You see it all the time, don't you? You always magically see them appearing on the next show. It's called they got rights on them or something like that. It's called, isn't it?
The promoter walks in with a champion, walks out with a champion, even if it's a new champion, and then they've got to fight again. So he's in basically the same scenario again.
Yeah, definitely.
It's called safeguarding your interests.
Yeah, definitely protecting your assets, most definitely. Jay's fight talk. He said, "Who gives Martin the hardest time, Billy?"
Who would give him Tyson Fury?
Fury, yeah, definitely. Surely that would be the play to get him on the Fury Usyk card. Turkey loves the heavyweights. That's surely the play, isn't it, Billy? Regardless of if it's Zhang or if it's not Zhang.
No, I'm fairly positive it'll be Zhang.
Right.
And if it's Zhang, it'll be either in China, if they go to China with the Riyadh season to have their first show in China, which would be amazing. And that would be fantastic.
Cool. That'd be good.
Or I'm pretty sure it would be in the beautiful city of Riyadh in Saudi Arabia.
Probably chief support, wouldn't it, to Fury Usyk?
Well, there's another big fight that's going to get named, and that'll be equally as good.
Heavyweights?
I'm not saying.
really got you, Billy.
You got him.
Can I ask? I know last time I spoke to you, Billy. there were a little bit of just slight frustration. It wasn't big or anything like that, so I'm not digging for anything here. But the relationship with Ben Shalom in LA looked a lot better. Are things on the right path again in that regard?
We talk when there's questions asked and to be answered.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I guess at the end of the day, he's right where he needs to be now. He's right in the mix. He's not on the outside looking in anymore. He's very much on the inside and where he needs to be for absolute sure. Definitely. We'll ask that question after Jason, who's just wrote one in. So I know you can't reveal any names, sorry, Billy, but we can expect some news from the Croc soon, can we?
I would imagine he will in the next fortnight. I hope he's coming back to Glasgow on Thursday evening, 6:00, and then he'll be back. He's already training now in Belfast.
Yeah,
just ticking over, and then he'll have a Friday. He'll have a nice light session in Glasgow, and then it's head down, arse up for the next 10 weeks.
I've
10,
been watching.
weeks.
Yeah, I've been watching a bit of what Eddie's been asked and what he's been saying about Lewis, and he seems to really want to push that Paddy Donovan fight. But he was talking about location being a thing last time. Paddy was demanding it be. Is it Limerick he's from in Ireland? And obviously, commercially, I will say this: commercially, it makes no sense to be in Limerick. The location to have that fight would be the SSE Arena in Belfast. There'd be no doubt about that whatsoever.
That's not available though. Belfast is not available. What Paddy's got to realise is Paddy, a fine fighter that he is and a nice guy that he is, he's got to realise he's the B-side here. He's not the champion. Lewis Crocker is, and Lewis Crockett's a ticket seller, not Paddy Donovan. I'm not exactly sure where the fight will be. Well, I'm not even saying that. I'm not even sure if he's fighting Paddy Donovan next, because there's other things.
You just know there's a big fight on the horizon.
There's 4 or 5 different scenarios for Lewis Crocker. So, and if I'm perfectly honest, 4 of them are better than Paddy Donovan.
Yeah, well, that's it. He's right on the cusp now, isn't he? He showed a lot in that Conor Walker fight, didn't he? I know I spoke to you about it directly after it happened, but Lewis put on a really good performance that night. Conor Walker's he's a tough man. There's no doubt about that. Lewis won the fight definitely, but it was round of the year and arguably fight of the year, I think, as well. Rolled into the one that night in Birmingham.
Conor Walker showed character that I didn't think he had, if I'm perfectly honest. And I told him immediately after the fight, I says, "You're a credit to yourself and your coach. Brilliant wee fighter."
Mm-hmm.
I'd pay money to watch him because he's gutsy as gutsy can be. Really good, really tough wee guy. And do you know what? He's a Gemia guy, and so is his coach. I've known him and his coach. I've been in his gym with Martin Bakole, sparring the big heavyweight that they had prior to the Tony Yoka fight. They're wonderful people too, cracking human beings, and I wish him nothing but all the very best in his boxing career. I mean, I think a great fight for him would be Paddy Donovan.
Yeah.
I think him v Donovan would be a good fight. Maybe on an undercard a big show, because it's a good fight, that.
Definitely. I've got one more, and then I think Liam's got one for you. So I just remember when we last spoke, Billy, obviously, I think there was a bit of frustration there. It was meant to be Joe Joyce against Martin Bakole at the O2 the night that he fought Chisora, and then that they went with Chisora, I think, probably for the commercial aspect of it. And then I think I remember you telling me it was meant to be Deontay Wilder against Jared Anderson until Zhang stopped Wilder. And then I think you got the call not long after that fight happened, didn't you, for Martin to step in and fight Jared Anderson? So all the pieces of the jigsaw kind of just like fell in together, and then you're kind of here in a way better position than you probably would have been if Martin had stopped Joe Joyce in a few rounds.
But he would have stopped Joe Joyce.
I would have. I don't think that's
absolutely.
I mean, Joe Joyce's team have avoided us for 6 years. 6 years I've asked for that fight, and I was told, go and fight somebody of note, blah blah blah. Whereas, of course, no disrespect to him, but and it's his team. I'm having a pop at. No Joe himself. He's fighting Leroy Thomas, 43. You know what I mean? That's meant to be a name. come on.
Yeah.
At least when Martin got beat by Michael Hunter, at least he had fought Alexander Usyk, somebody a quality operator. But
Yeah.
listen, Joe Joyce is past tense now. We're not even talking about him because he's not. We can't talk about him in the same sentence as Martin now.
No.
So he had his chance to fight Martin. He's had 3 chances that I'm aware of to fight Martin, and he knocked it back 3 times.
Yeah, definitely. You got anything to kick in with, Liam, before I read this question?
Just it's similar to this question, really. Obviously, with all we've seen the politics in boxing with the fact the IBF belts now split for Joshua and Dubois. Is the focus with Bakole following the belts or just following the biggest names, or is that sort of coming hand in hand? Would you say?
Well, then once we take care of business with Zhang, like I say, he's number 1 in the WBA.
It can't be denied. It can't be denied after that.
I'm sure they'll call for the mandatory, or you know they will call for it. They'll make Martin mandatory. Surely, goodness, they can't have Char as a mandatory because he's injured and he pulled out a fight with Puev. He's been out for maybe four months now, and there's still no sign of that fight being made. They might, you know what they might even do? They might say after Zhang, Martin v Char for a final eliminator, and then the winner fights Fury or Usyk.
Yeah.
Do you think, Billy, there's a chance if AJ beats Dubois, which most expect him to do, if Fury gets the job done in the rematch, you would think that regardless of anything, they're going to push for that undisputed, aren't they? Fury and Joshua, you would think.
No, because there's other belts.
They're going to fragment. They have to fragment at some point.
They've got to fragment. It's been way too long now.
That's it. Yeah.
You know, I mean, unless the people that are like Hrgovic did, that I believe happened if you're an interim champion, you take step aside money.
Yeah. But it can't go on forever. This Fury, AJ, we have to get new heavyweights fighting for belts.
Rematch after rematch after rematch.
I know it's where the money is and it's financial gain and that kind of thing. But Fury and AJ doesn't need a load of belts attached to it. That fight's doing astronomical numbers, regardless of whether it's got belts or not.
But you've got to applaud His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh, for wanting the big fights.
Oh, yeah. But
in the interest of fairness to other fighters, if the titles get fragmented, it could have 4 world title fights on different shows in the Riyadh season rather than,
rather than one undisputed
versus the winner of him, and then they get fragmented after that, and I think you'd be better off with 4 heavyweight world champions than 1 or 2.
There's like Fury and Usyk rematch. Yeah, it's for 3 out of 4 because he got stripped to the IBF. But that fight would be huge if it was just for a WBA heavyweight. It would be just as big. The fact that 3 belts are on the line versus 1 makes no. It doesn't sell more for me. Or it's still
the bottom line is see if AJ wins and Fury wins. See if there was no belts attached to it, they'd probably still get the same money that they command just to fight each other anyway.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
So the belts are irrelevant.
Yeah, definitely.
For the likes of them, not for the likes of Martin Bakole. Obviously,
that was more my question.
Of Tyson or AJ.
Yeah, most definitely. Billy, here's
the thing.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen? I mean, look, Martin beat Jared Anderson for the international title. I think it was the WBO. Now, imagine when we arrived in Congo, there was over 400,000 people lined the streets. Could you imagine what that would be like if we won the world title?
Yeah, I was going to ask that because Martin tweeted that, Billy. He said which would be a dream of his, and most definitely would be a dream of anyone to have the support that he's got in his home country. Do you think would it be feasible for him to fight there at some point?
At some point, I'd imagine, yeah. I mean, His Excellency again today came out with a statement saying that he would like to have a fight in Africa. He never said what country, but certainly in the continent of Africa. So, listen, there's two people in Africa or with African descendancy, Martin and AJ.
Yeah, that's the fight. Nigeria versus DRC.
It would be a huge fight, but only one guy would want that fight.
Martin.
And I know for a fact because he's already been offered the fight.
He's been offered the AJ fight.
AJ was offered to fight in
Bakole
Congo.
fight.
Bakole.
AJ was offered to fight in Congo.
Oh, but not necessarily against Bakole. He was just offered to fight in Africa.
It was then suggested to him to fight Martin Bakole, and he said no. Martin allegedly said no. This is not came from
Just
came from a different person.
Of course.
Allegedly said no, and Martin could fight on the undercard.
Okay, and that was a while ago, I assume.
Not too long ago.
Not too long ago. Okay, that's an interesting development, most definitely. That is interesting. Yeah, Billy, Jay's fight talks asked, well, I just want to say, actually, Billy, you're not getting enough credit for the likes of Trainer of the Year. You have to be in the conversation. What's gone on with Lewis Crocker this year, Martin Bakole? You've got a lot of young talent coming through the gym as well. So for me, you definitely have to be in the chat with what's gone, especially if Martin Bakole does a number on Zhang, if it gets to happen in December. That's a hell of a year for you in the gym. So it's Luke. Is it Bibby who's fighting soon? Is it?
He fights on Friday. He's going to be an exciting prospect. He's went down and gained invaluable experience with Josh Taylor leading up to the Jack Cattle fight.
That's right.
And also somebody that's a bit heavier than him, and Pierce O'Leary, when he fought his last opponent, he done particularly well there as well. Luke is a fantastic learner, great wee guy, super professional. Can't ask enough of him. He's fighting on Friday, and he's also fighting the 4th October, possibly for a title, but the fight in December will be a title fight.
Yeah.
So he'll have seven fights in his first year, which is a great achievement as well.
Outstanding. See, that's what I mean. The gym's thriving at all levels, Billy. You got Martin at the top. Lewis is very much on his way to the top, but you got young lads coming through as well. It just seems to be going from strength to strength.
I've got a new. I won't mention the new person I've got now, but he's going to be in some massive fights before the end of this year.
Yeah.
Or massive fight. He'll have 2 fights, but 1 massive fight.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, definitely have to keep an eye out for it, Billy. Well, as always, Billy, won't keep me any longer because we've had you for quite a while now, but always appreciate you giving up your time, Billy. Cannot wait to see what's next for Lewis Crocker. Hopefully we get that Martin Bakole against Zhilei Zhang fight in December because, for me, for any normal boxing fan who understands what we want to see, that is the fight to make. Martin Bakole's nailed on for a world title shot, and that, for me, does a number on Zhilei Zhang. I'm sure most people would say the same, but we have to see it. It's the fight to make. 2 bangers, 2 big guys, and, you can't not deliver fireworks that fight either.
But the thing is, Martin's not just a banger. He's a very, very skilled fighter as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a great engine, which Zhang hasn't got. Plus, Zhang's 40 and he's not been in the ring since I think March or earlier the year anyway. So that's a long time he's going to be out the ring as well.
Yeah, most definitely.
Do bear in mind that Martin had been out the ring 10 months prior to the Anderson fight, and look at the performance he produced.
Yeah, definitely. And he didn't get a great deal of rounds in against, it was Takam, wasn't it? When he what did he do? Did he swallow a wasp or a bee or something?
Swallowed the bee, I think. But he went in that fight injured with a bad back. But because there was no opportunities whatsoever for him, he wanted to take the fight. But he knew he was going to do a number on Takam.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, yeah, it's really exciting times. Like I say from before, we spent a lot of time talking about Martin Bakole waiting for an opportunity, trying to get an opportunity. You both took it with both hands out in LA a couple of weeks ago. So, it's very, very exciting. There was no need to go chasing, no need to, put the name out there. He's got his name in the headlights, and he's been talked to up there with the likes of, your Tyson Fury's, Usyk, everybody else. He's right there or thereabouts. So really looking forward to it, Billy. And thanks as always for giving up your time, Billy. You're a good man. Thank you.
Cheers, Billy. Thanks very much.
Cheers, Billy. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Fascinating as always from Billy. That wasn't it? Always good to hear.
Yeah, always great to have Billy on. It really is. Yeah. Cheers, Billy. Yeah, just rounding that off, we've got a couple in with us still. Jay's been with us the whole way through. Jay, thank you. Yeah, good stuff from Billy's. We've got Lewis Crocker fight news coming soon. I've got a feeling it's going to be Paddy Donovan. I don't know what you took from that, Liam, but I think we've got a Paddy Donovan fight coming. Cheers, Jay, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Sorry you're not here, but yeah, we'll definitely do it again sometime soon, mate. Billy's always very gracious with his time. He's giving us a good 25 minutes. What do you think, Paddy Donovan next, Liam, for Crocker?
I took from that it's going to be Paddy Donovan, but I do think if it's not Paddy Donovan, similar to when fights that haven't happened for Bakole, it's going to be because of Paddy, not because of Lewis and Martin or anything on that side.
Yeah. I
wonder the smoke screen of Limerick for me could be a way of Paddy trying to move himself away from that fight for the time being. He could be looking at that saying, knowing it's unfeasible to happen. So that's his way of pushing the fight further down the line.
Yeah.
For me, that's the way I'm looking at it. Lewis has shown how game he is.
Yeah. See you tomorrow, Jay. Yeah, Martin Bakole as well, just while we finish it off, from what Billy was just talking to us about. It has to be Zhilei Zhang. Billy's right in what he was saying, and Turkey Al-Sheikh probably does have the power to just rip that rematch clause up. But Frank Warren I watched an interview fairly recently with him in the last few days or so. He was fairly buoyant on the fact that Zhilei Zhang's going to be taking that rematch against Joseph Parker. But I do agree. I'm sure a deal can be made. But yeah, Bakole deserves that Zhang fight, and he's definitely going to get a world championship. But again, mate, that the fragmentation of the heavyweight championships, what's going to happen there? I'm telling you, if AJ wins and if Tyson Fury wins, they're going to want that fight for the undisputed. Turkey's going to be desperate for that.
100%. And just going back to Martin quickly with the Zhang situation, Frank, of course, is going to be buoyant that Zhang is going to get the fight back because, okay, he works with Parker, but he's also worked with Zhang. And it comes back to the point Billy made when Zhang beat Joyce the first time round. Frank walked in with Joe and he walked out with Zhang because it was in the contract if Zhang wins. So he has that promotional interest in Zhang as well as Parker. And perhaps he sees Parker fighting Zhang as protecting Parker a bit more. He probably knows as well that it's a harder fight for Parker if he goes in with Martin next and if he was to rematch Zhang. So perhaps he's looking at protecting his interests with his fighter there. But for me, Bakole should be getting big fights only now. I've been similar to you without the platform or noise that you've had as a fan of Bakole. So to see him now getting the plaudits he deserves, both internationally and back home for him in Congo after his performance this month, it's long overdue. You think the Takam fight was 2 years ago today? He fought Takam on the Usyk Joshua 2 cards.
Oh, really?
For different reasons. Yeah, different reasons, a global pandemic and everything. He hasn't got the opportunities, but he was in the shop window after that, after taking out Takam, and now he's finally getting. It's just rewards for me.
Yeah, and the only issue I think that there is with that, we've still got a couple with us, so we'll carry on for a little while. But I don't see Joseph Parker fighting Ajit Kabiel. So, I think a lot of people are very quick to forget. It's about what you've done for me recently, isn't it? And Martin Bakole has all the momentum with him. He most definitely does. After being froze out for so long, he has all the momentum with him. But you have to remember that Joseph Parker has beaten Deontay Wilder and Zhilei Zhang in his last 2 fights, but he hasn't fought since I think it was the Fury and AJ Ngannou card, in March, whereas Martin fought a couple of weeks ago. So it's the what you've done for me lately thing. So Martin has that kind of edge over it, but you have to remember that Joseph Parker does already have a victory over Zhilei Zhang. Okay, yes, he got put on the seat of his pants a couple of times. Yes, granted, but ultimately he did outbox Zhang for Zhang's gas tank wasn't there for it. But I can't see Joseph Parker, being delighted with having Ajit Kabiel put in front of him. If I'm Joseph Parker and I'm Joseph Parker's team, I'm going, look, I've just fought 2 guys that no one really wanted to fight. Because you have to remember that Wilder wasn't shot. No one knew Wilder was shot when Parker agreed to fight him. Whereas, we know that Wilder is shot now, unfortunately. But no one knew that before Parker beat him, and he was a big underdog on that night, Joseph Parker. So I can't see him being overly delighted with Ajit Kabiel coming to his desk on a Monday morning. What do you think about that?
Understand where you're coming from, but you've just mentioned it's what you do for me recently. So if we take away Usyk's obviously had the performance of the year for me at heavyweight, becoming undisputed. You put Dubois goes second with what he's done against Hrgovic. Okay, Baby Miller was back in the last year, but his last 2 performances. Joshua's on a revival. Take what you want from the fact it was Francis Ngannou in his last fight. But other than that, Ajit Kabiel and Martin Bakole. So underneath the first 3 guys, Parker, Kabiel and Bakole, the next 3 heavyweights that have in the last 6-7 months have had standout performances.
Yeah.
So I completely agree. Parker isn't going to be thrilled about having Caballero come across his desk, but Caballero has also put himself in a position where he deserves to be in that conversation. We're not mentioning Ajay Arwi as a soft touch, as a easy fight. He's gone in against Frank Sanchez and Makhmudov.
Again, two other guys undefeated. I think both of them heading into that fight. Two guys no one wanted to fight Makhmudov. Obviously, he's lost again at the weekend to Finello in Billy Derevinchenko card. But again, two boogeymen of the heavyweight division that nobody wanted to touch. But I just got a little feeling that bless Billy, he's great. He wants to say more than he's allowed to say, but like just reading his body language, I know he's not allowed
a little smirk on his face as well. You can tell from that little smirk coming across him.
He gives a little bit away, I do think, bless him. But I think that Martin Bakole and Zhilei Zhang fight's pretty close for December. But what I am looking forward to is, because I hinted at him, would it be a co-main event to Fury and Usyk in December? And he's basically in the know of maybe there's another fight. He said equally as big, and now you have to remember that he knows full well, and Billy will toot Martin Bakole's horn all night long. He knows how big and good that fight is, so you have to be expecting that if there's a fight to rival that could be a co-main event to Fury and Usyk above Martin Bakole versus Zhilei Zhang. What fight could that be? Because that's huge.
Yeah. You can tell he knows some of the plans, how Riyadh season's going to play out. Yeah. He wanted to say, I think, if he could, he would have done so. Yeah, look, that December 2021 card is going to be, I think, bigger than what we saw for the original unification fight back in May. I think if you do get Bakole and Zhang on there, are we possibly looking at Terence Crawford getting out again this year? Could that be the fight that's going to go there as co-main? You never know really what could happen there. I'd like to see getting off topic here, but I'd like to see Crawford fight again this year. I think his activity now needs to come up. Turkey doesn't like fighters just sitting around, does he? He likes to offer opportunities and seeing them taken by fighters as opposed to them wasting stuff out, as has been the norm in boxing for far too long. But yeah, it's interesting with Billy. He's got Martin, he's got Lewis, he's got his young fighters coming through as well.
He looks a good fighter.
I'll be interested to see how he goes on Friday.
Yeah, sparring with Josh Taylor for the Cattrall fight. He's got a really good gym there. Sounds like he's got another signing coming as well. And I don't think I was being too far-fetched. I'd have thought about it before Billy came on a while ago. And, when you're talking about especially British, but, even worldwide, if he can get a Bakole Zhang fight and beat Zhilei Zhang in December, and then, Lewis Crocker gets his big fight, after that, he's definitely up there for Trainer of the Year. Big shout out, Josh. Thanks for tuning in, mate. Good shout about Crawford from Liam. It'd be good if you did stay active. Josh, I love that fight as well. I love if Crawford would get out in December as well. He's fighting once a year, isn't he? Pretty much every year. He fought Spence last June. He fought Madrimov
this month
on the Bakole Anderson on the same night. Yeah, he's not active at all. I believe he's waiting out for a Canelo Alvarez fight. Josh, I honestly do. What do you think, Liam? Even though it looks as far away that there's ever the Canelo fight at the minute.
Yeah, I think Crawford's done it for a long time. The fact he waited out for the Spence fight, now he's waited out for Madrimov this year. He is choosing the money fights over perhaps the legacy fights at this point. Okay, you could say Canelo would be a legacy fight as well, but I think if Canelo doesn't come off, he would wait for another fight that makes financial sense to him. So possibly, I'd love to see him in with boots. I just don't think that fight's ever going to happen now. I don't think we see Crawford back at 147. I think he's more looking for fights that make financial sense as opposed to add to his legacy, definitely.
Yeah, I do think, though, from what Billy was saying, thanks for that, Josh. Thanks for tuning in, mate. I do believe from what Billy was saying in the interview a little while ago, that fight is going to be a heavyweight fight. We know Turkey loves the heavyweights. I'm just trying to think. It wouldn't surprise me if it was Parker and Caballero, if they are. But Billy wouldn't say that that's bigger than Bakole and Zhang, because it's not. It really is.
No, he wouldn't.
He talked about that being able to rival that fight. The only other heavyweights that you can really sling together that would rival that is your likes of AJ and Dubois, who are headlining in September. AJ won't turn around that quickly, I don't think, unless they have super plans for it. But I don't think that Anthony Joshua is going to be, if he wins the IBF belt, going to be in a rush to defend it. He'll be waiting out for the Usyk Fury winner. There's no way that he'll be. So who else really do do you have in that heavyweight mix that?
Going off of what Billy said as well, it's going to be something to rival Bakole and Zhang. Joseph Parker, but it would have to be against the right opponent. The Caballero fight isn't there. The first thing that's come to my mind, and I'm happy to say it on here, that if Josh gets it done quickly next month at Wembley, I could see a scenario where he backs up against the likes of, say, someone of Joseph Parker's ilk to have another fight, as opposed to waiting out possibly till next spring.
Yeah. Well, you got September the 21st, so it's bang on 3 months, isn't it? He's done shorter turnarounds. December. So, but you think about it. He fought Otto Wallin in December on that card, Day of Reckoning, wasn't it? Last December. So that was like the 21st of December last year. And then he fought Francis Ngannou in March. So yes, he took no damage against Otto Wallin and he took no damage against Ngannou, obviously. But if he goes and cleans Daniel Dubois out early and doesn't really take any shots, will he go and defend that IBF heavyweight championship on 3 months' notice against a name? I don't know who the name would be, but that is the only explanation for me as to what Billy said. The only man that could create that kind of a reaction is Anthony Joshua.
And the thing to remember with AJ as well, when he won the belt against Charles Martin back in 2016, that was in April. Then by the end of June, he was back in the ring against Dominic Brazil for his first defense. I think he had 7 weeks between the two fights. Mm-hmm. Again, he took no damage against Martin, but similar scenario at Wembley. I could see him getting back out in July. He's done it in 7 weeks before for a world title. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't do it again, assuming he's fit and healthy.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I just don't know. Like they didn't spend. I'll say didn't spend an awful lot of money on the Fury Usyk undercard in May. Yesterday they had Bradis and Opataya. They had Joe Cordina against Anthony Kakachi. Like it was a good card, but like it wasn't the level of undercard that the Riyadh season had in LA. It wasn't the level of undercard you're getting probably at Wembley or anything like that. Just because ultimately Fury and Usyk it could sell without any undercard at all. So I do credit Turkey for that, for actually at least putting on some form of an undercard. But if you're going to put Fury versus Usyk, Bakole versus Zhang, and then potentially an Anthony Joshua fight or a Parker Cabiel, that's an expensive undercard, and you're absolutely stacking it that close to Christmas. I don't know, but so many fascinating things to take from that 25 minutes with Billy there.
He done it last year in December, didn't he, with the Day of Reckoning cards 2 days before Christmas. So perhaps what we're going to have to get used to with Saudis is their December card is going to be their marquee cards where they throw as much money as they like at it and create monster cards. Excuse me. I can see another scenario where we have another monster December card like we got last year, 100%, which would tie in with Joshua getting on there as well.
Yeah, definitely. We've still got a few with us, guys. Fire in some questions if you want. I know we're piggybacking still off the back of a great 25 minutes with Billy Nelson there. Billy's full of great insight. He's always willing to give up his time, so we appreciate that. It's the third time we've had him on here now. Just going back to Lewis Crocker as well, the Conor Walker fight for me was arguably the fight of the year this year. I do want to see the Paddy Donovan fight. I think Billy's more open to it than the last time I spoke to him about the Paddy Donovan fight. Is there anyone else at 147 you could think of that Lewis Crocker could be fighting? Because Billy did say it'd be a big fight.
The next thing that comes to mind,
I think it'd be Paddy Donovan. I'd be surprised. Eddie Hearn's been on about that fight for a hell of a long time now. I'd be surprised if it's not Paddy Donovan. But
I'd be surprised as well if it wasn't Paddy. But if they're talking about a big fight for Lewis, is he looking to go in the direction of the European title, possibly pick up a belt that's going to stand him in good stead for 2025? Yeah. Just looking now at who is the European champion at welterweight.
Just think where the matchmaking's going in boxing this last 6 to 12 months is like the standard path of British, Commonwealth, European titles doesn't seem to be that way anymore. It seems to be you're going where the money is, you're going where the big fights are, you're going where the Saudi Arabia shows, It doesn't seem to be. I don't think Billy would have called it for a big fight for Lewis Crocker to be a European title fight. I think a big fight for Lewis Crocker is the likes of Paddy Donovan and like we said when we spoke the other day, spoke to Troy Williamson yesterday. The matchmaking at British level now is getting way better because you're just going to be left behind if you're not taking fights. Everyone else at world level, everything like that, Fury, Usyk, these fights that felt so far away so long ago, everybody's taking them now because the money's there for them. The demand, the fans have the demand and they're getting it.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you in terms of him saying, I do think Billy wouldn't call a European title fight a big fight, but just thinking in terms of best position to put Lewis in for next year, perhaps that's the path they're going to go down. But He's got the WBA Continental belt, hasn't he, Lewis? Could Paddy his ranks also in the WBA? Could that be? Wouldn't be a final eliminator, but could they get that sanctioned as some sort of eliminator to start putting them both in the shot window? I definitely think Crocker and Paddy would sell. Shame it can't be in Belfast from what Billy was saying. So I guess then the conversation would be, where is the best place to put it? Could you put it in Dublin? Could it go at the Free Arena? Or is that something you'd probably need quite a big undercard to go back to Dublin, wouldn't you? It's an interesting one. If you can't go in Belfast, where that fight lands, because you do want, obviously, give it the best chance of selling well, don't you? Which is what.
Yeah, definitely. Josh said I can see it being Crocker versus Paddy next, potentially bigger interest and more money. Yeah, Josh, completely agree. I think I think you were with us, Josh. Actually, yeah, thanks for tuning in when Billy was here. I think, bless him, he nearly slipped up a little bit. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into that too much, but I thought Billy was there or thereabouts for nearly letting it slip that Lewis and Paddy might be announced soon. So just keep your eye out for that in a couple of weeks' time. Maybe claiming a SW Fight Hub exclusive there in a couple of weeks' time for if that comes along. But yeah, Josh, for me, it has to be that fight. I think you're right there, Liam. I think the 3 Arena could probably get that one. He said, I said it deserves to be in Belfast, but obviously he said the arena's booked, so it's looking likely it's not going to be in Belfast. But Paddy wanted it in Limerick, I think, where he's based and from. No real money for it for me there. But yeah, 3 Arena, Liam, I think that makes a hell of a lot of sense. Katie Taylor sells that arena out all the time. You get all Lewis Crocker's lot from Belfast will be down there. It's not too far of a journey. Paddy Donovan's crowd as well. He's got a big fan base over in the west of Ireland as well. They'd all make the trip for that. That would be a real tear up. North versus south of Ireland. You've got a real fight on your hands there.
Absolutely. I think the sad thing is with the 3 Arena, as Eddie said, the Republic of Ireland government are so hard to work with when it's not Casey Taylor fights headlining. They seem so reluctant to allow big boxing events to happen outside of Casey Taylor. I would hate for that to be the reason we don't see this fight where it should be. But for me, the fact that he has come out and said on numerous occasions that putting fights on in Dublin, even involving Katie Taylor, are hard work. You can imagine it being a stumbling block potentially.
Yeah, I agree. Ultimately, Katie Taylor brings, that much to the gate and stuff like that. I guess people are willing to, work through the problems. Lewis and Paddy, great fighters. It's going to be a great fight, but ultimately they don't have the name of Katie Taylor. I do believe they would sell it out, but again,
yeah, I'm fully with you. It's just other politics, like Jay mentioned earlier with Martin. Will he ever become unified? The politics, unfortunately, could be something that's stopped now, which would be a shame because it would be a great fight for both of them next. I do agree with you. It's a crossroads fight in terms of where they're at in their careers, both of them. They both can still come back again, but whoever wins that fight definitely propels themselves on to bigger and better things in 2025 if we do get it before the end of this year.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, we'll wrap it up there. Josh, Jay's Fight Talk, thanks very much for tuning in. We've got a few others that haven't popped a question in so far, but really appreciate that, guys. Billy Nelson, what a legend for coming on again. Always good value is Billy. Hoping to see what's next for Martin Bakole. It deserves to be Gilles Jean. We've covered that, to the hills and back. But that really is the fight. Lewis Crocker versus Paddy Donovan, like Josh has got on the screen here for me. That's the fight to make as well. His gym's on fire. Billy had Ricky Burns through all those years of Ricky winning the world titles. He just seems to produce and get good fighters all the way through. He's got a winning formula up there in Scotland. Whatever he does, it clearly works. And you could see with the celebrations with Martin Bakole after the fight and that kind of thing, the chemistry that they have, the trust that Bakole has in him and the faith Billy has in him as a fighter. A lot of people give him stick online and, they've been ridiculed, but their stock's never been higher than it has right now. So, credit to them. They're stuck with the whole process throughout. And yeah, really looking forward to seeing what's next for them, Liam.
Yeah, absolutely. Finally getting the credit that I know you've banged the drum for quite a few years. I have similarly as well. They're finally getting the credit they deserved. And if they are denied opportunities now, then it's plain and simple that the bigger boys in this division are running scared from Martin Bakole. What Billy has been saying for the last 3-4 years will actually have some truth behind it, because we can all see that Martin Bakole needs to be given these opportunities now. So it needs to happen. Turkey's the man to make it happen as well, because we've seen what he's been able to do in terms of bringing fighters together. So bring on the next 12, 18 months. I think Martin Bakole is going to be in some massive nights, and I can't wait to see him.
Yeah, absolutely. Liam, thanks very much for coming on, mate. I do appreciate that. We'll be back for our debut show tomorrow, covering the latest issues in boxing. But thanks for coming on, mate. And everyone else, we'll catch you in the next one. Cheers, guys.
Always a pleasure. See you later.